Chapter 63-74. After the father and son left the palace and returned to the hotel, Steve returned to his room and arranged for his confidant to contact the remote sensing satellite company that Charlie wanted immediately. At this time, it is necessary to cut the Gordian knot. Contact, negotiate, and complete as soon as possible. It just so happens that he can take this opportunity to show Charlie the ability to do things. This remote sensing satellite company has not been doing very well for many years. Their main revenue comes from providing data authorization to companies around the world that need satellite maps. Just like navigation companies sell their own map authorizations. They make a set of maps at their own cost and then sell them to companies that need map functions in their own software. However, because they provide high-precision satellite images, the company has long been registered with the U.S. National Security Department. The National Security Agency has many requirements and constraints on them, which will greatly limit their revenue capabilities. For example, any enterprise that buys its satellite data can only buy the latest pictures from a few months ago, although their satellites are constantly shooting at the world every day. The Department of Homeland Security is worried that they will leak secrets of the military and other departments when updating the latest data, and requires them to update the latest data at least 6 months later. To put it bluntly, the satellite pictures taken 6 months ago can be opened to partners today, and the satellite pictures taken today can only be opened to partners 6 months later. This leads to the lack of real-time satellite pictures, which are unattractive to a considerable number of users. If the database is updated quickly enough, the practicality will increase exponentially. But for the US government, if the database of such a company is updated too quickly, it is also a threat to them. If the US president travels secretly, ordinary netizens can capture the president's movement trajectory through the position change of Air Force one day later, which is absolutely intolerable. Moreover, the United States has military operations in many countries. Take Syria for example. The US military just stole Syria's oil, and the satellite photos were seen clearly the next day. This is also unacceptable to the US military. Therefore, in addition to the rigid regulations on timeliness, the National Security Department will have many other requirements. For example, the satellite images within certain coordinates must be more than 2 years old. And some coordinates do not allow their satellites to take any form of photography. Some coordinates must even be replaced with pictures provided by the National Security Department to cover up their tracks. Perhaps there are already 10 nuclear missile silos in this place. But on the satellite map, it is still a deserted desert. In addition, their database is also directly connected to the Security Department. And the Security Department checks their data at any time to prevent any possibility of leaking confidential information. So many restrictions and shackles are like a tight hoop for this company, full of torture. Their founders and shareholders once hoped to sell the company and start a new business on an unconstrained track. But the National Security Department did not give them this opportunity. They stipulated that the controlling shareholder of this company must be a Native American company, and the actual controller of the company must be an American for more than 3 generations. This restricts some potential buyers in the United States, and all potential buyers outside the United States. Not only are there requirements for controlling shareholders, but even before the company goes public, all shareholders must be companies from NATO member countries. Any current shareholders are not allowed to resell the shares of the beast species to companies in other countries outside of NATO member countries. This means that if Charlie goes through normal channels, it would be a pipe dream to even obtain 1% of the shares of this company. Of course, so many restrictions also make it a pipe dream for the founder of this company to cash out, because no one is interested in his company at all. After all, no one wants to buy a company that is constrained everywhere. Just when the founder of the company felt that he would never be able to cash out in his lifetime, he suddenly received a message that the famous Rothschild family was actually interested in his humble little company. Even Rothschild wanted to acquire his company in full. Although this remote sensing satellite company is a special company that is controlled by the National Security Department and subject to various restrictions. If the buyer is an authentic American and the famous Rothschild family, then all control measures can be perfectly circumvented. In addition, the boss and shareholders of the company have long been looking forward to cashing out. So when they heard that the second-in-command of the Rothschild family was coming to discuss the acquisition, they immediately organized an online vote. As a result, without exception, everyone agreed to sell. So, the founder and CEO immediately began to discuss the acquisition limit with his partners and investors. On Steve's way to Houston, they reached a few consensuses on the acquisition. If the other party pays the acquisition money in one lump sum, the reserve price can be lowered to $3 billion. As long as the contract Steve gives is above this amount, the agreement can be signed. If the payment of the acquisition money needs to be paid in batches and installments, and the total payment period exceeds 1 year. But there are no other additional terms.